Hello, welcome back. In the last episode we began creating our first draft. In this episode we're going to apply a minor arc to get over one of the quieter scenes. Let's get started. We're here in the writing studio and I've completed my first scene. I'll read this one back. I want you to pay attention to one thing. If you remember, I was showing some rules in the last episode, and the first rule is to write only what you can see. So don't describe things. You don't have to put any great description. You don't have to go into detail. What we're trying to do is to show the story by literally just describing what you see. We saw this, we saw that, we saw the other. So here I'll read it out and you can see for yourself how I do that. So Robert woke at the sound of the door slamming, then panicked when he heard his wife scream. "Rebecca," he called. There was no response. "Rebecca!" "Robert!" the voice came from outside. "Help me!" He jumped out of bed and reached for his trousers. He was wearing only a nightshirt and started pulling them on as he rushed for the window. Outside, under a full moon, his wife was walking away from the cottage, hand in hand with a little boy, heading into the wheat field. He could have only been 6 or 7 years old, but he seemed to glow with some unearthly light. Robert bounded down the stairs and threw open the front door. "Robert, help me, help, quick!" Rebecca was walking with an unusual gait. Her neck was painfully twisted, with her head turned almost completely around to look back at the home. Whilst her face was contorted in terror, her legs walked as though she was going for a pleasant stroll. Hey boy, what are you doing?" The little boy holding her turned his head and, as the moonlight caught his face, seemed to vanish into a misty, transparent form. Then from ahead came the whistle of a steam train, and from nowhere a green and glassy engine emerged from the dark. It was as though they were made from luminous glass. The east coastline bordered their farm and was supposed to bring the modern age. So far it had killed 4 of his sheep that had wandered onto the line. But in the years since it was built, he had never seen anything like this. A monstrous, glowing and ethereal machine was materializing out of the darkness and coming to a halt less than 100 yards from his home. And the ghostly little boy was leading his wife towards it. He called out, "Rebecca, stop! I can't, he won't let me." The strain in her voice, the breaking of her words told him she was in pain. He ran hard and fast. "Get off her!" The ghostly little boy looked back over his shoulder and whispered some kind of incantation that brought fierce growls from the wheat, growls that made him stop in his tracks. "What in God's name?" he whispered. Between himself and his wife, 2 large dogs loped out of the wheat ahead of him. They were blacker than coal, so dark they could barely be seen, but their eyes glowed with a luminous green, as did their razor-sharp teeth. The beasts gave off the luminous green vapour of a ghost, but had the black solid form of demons. By the train, he heard Rebecca scream. Robert ran. To hell with the dogs. He had to rescue Rebecca, but the dogs had other ideas. As he ran past, they gave chase. The first launched itself into the air to sink its hellish teeth into Robert's right arm. It burned like a branding iron. The second dog bit into his left calf, bringing an equal explosion of pain. One of the dogs moved behind him and bit into the back of his neck, more to hold him in place than to hurt. From the ground, with 2 dogs atop him, he watched as Rebecca was led to the last carriage of the train. There were 6 carriages and an engine, all made from the same transparent green glass, all giving off the ghostly green vapour. Please, I need her. Rebecca! At the train, he saw her led aboard by the child. The last carriage had a boarding platform, a sort of observation deck for travellers to stand and take in the fresh air as they travelled. There was a man there, a man just as ghostly as the train and the boy. As the boy led Rebecca up onto the platform, the man took her hand and seemed to bend over backwards, almost doubling into a contortion of near impossibility. Then she was gone, taken aboard the train. The whistle blew and the dogs began to lift. "No!" Robert pressed the dogs apart and began to run. The train whistled again as the engine chuffed and the wheels of the great steam train began to roll. Robert ran. He got close. He could see right through the train. He ran to the rear and his hands reaching for the handrail by the step of the observation deck. He got his fingers to it. He took firm hold and was about to pull himself forward when the handle became mist and his fingers passed through the metal. Going for broke, Robert leapt forward, throwing himself at the observation deck, but to no avail. fell. He fell through the vaporous train to land flat against the sleepers with his chest between the rails. As he looked up, the train sounded its whistle once more and dissolved from view. It was a ghost train. It had taken his wife and vanished. Jeez. So, as you can see, this is an opening. The idea is to get people hooked in with all kinds of things happening. There is a rule. It might sound a little bit cheesy, you know, oh, ghost dogs and ghostly trains. There's a rule with telling stories like this, that people will believe anything you throw at them at the beginning. In film, you often say they'll believe anything thrown in the first 10 minutes. So if you are going to create rules of ghosts and things, you've got to do it right at the beginning. So I'm quite comfortable having this in the opening page, so that people say, right, we've got ghost boys, we've got ghost trains, we've got hellish dogs. This has set the rules of our universe. People will like it or they won't like it. But I think it's quite captivating. I think we've managed to get that opening that we were looking for. Now, you will have noticed, of course, like I said, I write only what you can see. I've not talked about what Robert's feeling. I've not talked about what his wife is thinking. I've not talked about the motivations of the ghost boy. Nothing. This is what we can see. We can see a boy leading his wife. Her head's twisted around. We've talked about things we can see and only things we can see. So, we're now going to come on to our scene 2. And when I checked my plan, I realised scene 2 and 3, what happens is Robert is now, let's say, we put it in 2 years later. And we've got Robert is sitting by his sitting in his kitchen, and there's dirty dishes. We know he's got a full beard. We'll just put this in as a little bit of a note. Full beard, dirty dishes, full beard. He's a bit dishevelled. And what's going to happen is his farm manager, James, is going to come in and talk to him and try and reason. Now, I'm going to use a minor arc for this because the first scene, so let's have a look. Scene 2, Robert comes into his kitchen to talk about the business. And then scene 3, James comes in to talk with Robert. And in scene 3, James returns and they have a glass of brandy and have a heart-to-heart about what's going on. So what I'm going to put in, if you think about it, so we've got a stasis. Let me just write this one in. I'll write this really quickly. I'm going to do this first scene, so scene 2, is actually going to be from the point of view of James. Now, this is something important with scenes. You've got to choose whose scene it is and stay with their point of view. So, for example, if you've got a prisoner and a policeman at an interrogation, you tell the story from only one side. So you tell it from the prisoner's point of view, that the prisoner knows things, but you don't know what the policeman's thinking. Or alternatively, you tell it from the policeman's point of view that he's trying to get information out of the prisoner. And that way you build tension. If you showed both sides, you'll find that all the tension vanishes because we know what everybody's thinking. So it's always important to choose whose scene it is. So this is going to be James. James Gosling approached the cottage and rapped on the door. There was no answer. There never was. Let's just have him call out. Mr. Alcorn, may I come in? He didn't wait for a response. Because he's familiar, he knows. That's how we're going to show it. We're going to show it instead. The door slightly unlocked inside. Robert was sitting in his kitchen. Dirty dishes were piled by the basin. His full beard was growing out and his clothes had seen better days. So we've shown him very quickly. This is all we need to describe. We can see he's not in a good place. And we can see that James is kind of familiar enough to, he knocks on the door, knock, 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 and then, are you okay? Can I come in? He's got that kind of relationship. Where do you stay, sir? I need to pay the hands. I need to pay the farm hands. Robert barely moved. Money is in the usual place. Alright, sir. You're not looking well today. And he could say, do I have a look well? James came to the table and took a seat. I know it's not my place, but I think you may need to see a doctor. Doctor can't fix what I've got. Doctor can't fix a broken heart. Doctors can't find Rebecca. He's an interesting. If you found me a doctor who could, I'd be there in an instant. Now, so we kind of have a stasis and the trigger. So let's just say he does know. He said, there are doctors like that, although I don't know if I believe it. Have you thought of contacting the spirits? Robert shook his head. Would he be practical? He's seen a ghost train. He's seen his wife taken. I don't think I believe that sort of thing. There's something I'm doing here. You'll notice I'm using a lot of dialogue, and I think dialogue is the best way to show relationships between people. But it's also very good for exposition. So we really don't want to explain things in the story, but if you can have the characters talk about it, then it kind of works. And this is expositional. We need to get Robert from being miserable to wanting to go to a seance or a medium or something. If half of what you told me is true, of ghostly trains running along the line, then I hardly believe you can discount. It's called the world of the spirits. The spirit world. The world of the spirits. Oh, I believe in spirits. I just don't believe. Here we go. I don't believe the charlatans who aren't paying for contacting them. Yeah. And let's just end the scene there. Let's just read it back and see. James Gosling approached the cottage and rapped on the door. There was no answer. There never was. Mr. Alcorn, may I come in? He didn't wait for a response. Instead, he opened the door slightly and looked inside. Robert was sitting in his kitchen. Dirty dishes were piled by the basin. His full beard was growing out, and his clothes had seen better days. What is it? Where'd you stay, sir? I need to pay the hands. Robert barely moved. Money's in the usual place. James took some cash from the drawer of an oak chest. You all right, sir? You're not looking well today. Do I ever look well? James came to the table and took a seat. I know it's not my place, sir, but I think you may need to see a doctor. Doctors can't fix what I've got. Doctors can't find Rebecca. If you found me a doctor that could, I'd be there in an instant. There are doctors like that, although I don't know if I believe it. Have you thought of contacting the spirits? Robert shook his head. I don't think I believe that sort of thing. If half of what you told me is true, of ghostly trains running along the line, then I hardly believe you can discount the world of the spirits. Oh, I believe in spirits. I just don't believe the charlatans who want paying for contacting them. Okay, again, a little bit cheesy, but this is a first draft. It will be awful. So we've kind of put in a stasis and a trigger. But what's going to happen now is we'll move on to scene 3, and it will be James comes back that evening with some alcohol so they can sit and have man talk. In the next one, I'll flip it over and I'll do it from Robert's point of view. And we'll see Robert kind of grow and develop and kind of warm to this idea. And we'll do that in the next episode. So until then, keep writing, and we'll see you real soon.